Hey, how's it going? For as long as I can remember, I've been a Spider-Man fan. And for a long time, that statement only applied to Peter Parker. But a few years ago, we got two really amazing Miles Morales stories. Those came in the form of Marvel's Spider-Man on PlayStation, and of course, one of my now all-time favorite movies, Into the Spider-Verse. Needless to say, I was hooked on the character, and when this game was announced, I was fucking pumped. So, does it live up to the hype? Yes and no. Let me explain. Also, huge spoilers ahead. This is a Miles Morales game through and through. Insomniac did an incredible job of making you feel like a different hero. The mechanics and structure of the game remain virtually the same from the first 2018 entry in the series, but a few tweaks here and there create an unapologetically Miles Morales experience. The music has that same epic, awe-inspiring quality that the first game had, mixed with a little bit of hip-hop flair to give it more personality. The gameplay is just as refined and heroically immersive as before, yet it feels so different with the implementation of Miles' Venom powers and the little nuances of Miles' animation, such as when he's swinging, reminding you that this is a Spider-Man still learning his footing, unlike the experienced hero we saw with Peter in the original game. Even the side missions feel pretty different. Thankfully, there's a lot less filler this time around, and a majority of the side missions feel like they actually matter, especially thanks to the use of the app and how it makes you as Miles feel closer to the people of Harlem. The character of Miles is really what makes this game shine. Much like Peter, he's a good kid who just wants to do right. He's a bit cooler and less sarcastic, but he's still that hero with a heart of gold who wants to protect the city he calls home, and that's what makes him Spider-Man. The best moments of the story in Spider-Man Miles Morales come from Miles' journey in becoming his own individual hero, separate from Peter, and the relationship Miles has with Harlem as compared to Peter's with New York.
Would have been harmed or killed if not for the intervention of Spider-Man, New York's second hero to go by that name.
It's my home too.
When the focus is taken off these elements, the story of the game loses a lot of its luster. Most of the main missions in the game follow an almost identical setup to some of the most important ones from the first game. It creates a story that's entirely functional and hits all the beats it needs to, but lacks the individuality that the rest of the game puts forth. They kind of pulled a Force Awakens with this one. Just like how Star Wars took the blueprint for the story and characters from A New Hope and used it for The Force Awakens, Spider-Man Miles Morales does the same with the original game, and does so with a little bit less of an emotional impact than before. Miles and Finn's relationship is ridiculously similar to Peter and Otto's, a close family-like bond between two science-loving friends, where one is secretly Spider-Man and the other one ends up going too far and trying to take down a rich villain, only to have the Spider-Friend reluctantly and emotionally do everything they can to try to stop them from unintentionally hurting people who get caught in the way of it all. Otto with all of New York and Devil's Breath, Finn with Harlem and the Reactor. Finn and the Underground are also insanely similar to Martin Lee and the Inner Demons, both gangs trying to take down a corrupt rich guy and his corporation. That rich guy role is the worst offender here, with it being filled by Simon Krieger and Miles Morales, who, although being very intimidating, is just a much more boring version of Norman Osborn, without a very interesting motivation. His corporation, Roxxon, has its own set of high-tech soldiers like Oscorp did with Sable International, and both Roxxon and the Underground frequently duke it out over the course of the game, just like Sable and Inner Demons did in the first game. Now I know this is a spin-off, but it adds up to a story that feels underdeveloped, and Insomniac could have easily developed a smaller scale Spidey story without so many repeats. Peter's last moments with Otto and the act of his betrayal are so much more emotionally hard-hitting than the ending we see with Miles and Finn. Maybe this was because Miles Morales was a much shorter game, leaving less time for character development, or it could have been the unfortunate case of deja vu. Either way, we didn't need another, oh boy, gotta save everybody from the evil rich man and my friend who's kind of quirky and crazy type of scenario to weigh down the story of an otherwise masterpiece of a game. Honestly, I would have loved to see something more focused on Aaron Davis and have his relationship with Miles take center stage. The interactions between the two were some of my favorite parts of the game. Also, the added layer that the death of Miles' dad puts on their uncle/nephew relationship really could have made for some heart-wrenching signature Spider-Man moments. Even so, we're still left with a phenomenal game that lives as yet another reminder of why the character of Spider-Man is so special to so many people. And though I wish we would have gotten a more unique story for Miles this time around, I have quite a lot of faith for the future of this gaming franchise and the new stories it'll bring to the table for Peter and Miles alike. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, as I have many more videos such as this planned for the future, all about pop culture and gaming, movies, TV, etc. And be sure to check out my podcast I just started up with my girlfriend called Rom-Coms and Roses, where we just mess around talking about romantic comedies and reviewing them for your listening enjoyment. See you guys soon. Something like that, I don't know.